It's the end of the work week. Good evening. You're watching The Big Story with Dylan Ang. I'm Olivia Quay, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom.
A multi-agency task force was formed today to ensure that people here continue good public and personal hygiene, even beyond the coronavirus outbreak. Called the SG Clean Taskforce, it will be headed by Minister for the Environment and Water Resources, Masagos Zulkifli, and it will fall under the purview of the existing multi-ministry COVID-19 task force. The task force will introduce mandatory cleaning standards from 2021 at places like preschools, elder care facilities and hawker centres. It will also encourage the public to adopt personal hygiene practices, among other measures.
Mr. Masagos said improved hygiene standards will have to be our new norms and that decontamination of the environment is a common and shared responsibility. According to research, environmental contamination is an important factor in the transmission of the virus, but the virus is also easily removed by disinfection, underscoring the importance of cleaning high-touch public areas.
The government will put standards in place and take enforcement action where they are not met. For instance, since 30th January, SFA and NEA have been conducting joint inspection at hawker centres to remind operators to maintain high standards of their operations. We have been also inspecting public toilets. We want to ensure that soaps are always available for public to use and not diluted, to make sure that they have access to soap to wash their hands. And therefore, we want premise owners to maintain the highest standard possible in the facilities they run.
The announcement of the SG Clean Taskforce comes a day after Health Minister Gan Kim Yong said that Singapore must expect to see significantly higher numbers of new cases in time to come.
To tell us more about the task force is the Straits Times journalist Timothy Goh. So Tim, how will authorities make sure these higher standards of cleanliness are met?
Hi, yes. Sorry, I think there's a slight lag. Basically, it's a multi-agency task force. So the various ministries inside, the Ministry of Education, the Early Childhood Development Agency, will be working to audit the premises that are under their respective purviews. And part of this has already been rolled out with the Singapore Food Agency inspecting hawker food stalls, and NEA inspecting hawker centres as part of the SG Clean campaign. So something that's ongoing. There'll be audits and checks by the authorities.
Now, Tim, speaking of the SG Clean campaign, it was actually launched earlier on February 16th. It aims to raise cleanliness and safeguard public health amid the outbreak, of course. Now, what are the differences between this campaign and what the task force does?
So that's a good question. I'd say the campaign is sort of like a precursor to this task force. The campaign focuses purely on food stalls and hawker centres, whereas this task force is looking at the whole of Singapore kind of approach. That's the first difference. And the second difference is that it's not just about, legislating and ensuring that places are up to standard, but also about inculcating good new social norms and practices among the population, such as, binning your own salt tissue, right, not leaving a mess where you go, keeping the toilets dry, etc. So it's got a wider scope.
Tim, National Development Minister Lawrence Wong said that improving public hygiene is the easier to tackle. Meanwhile, personal hygiene and social norms are harder to influence. So, do you foresee that the task force will encounter problems in changing people's mindsets then?
No, I don't really foresee this. I think that Singaporeans so far have been quite compliant with measures, and cleaning up Singapore has been an ongoing process that we've been working on for many years now. So it's not like we're jumping from one culture to another. So I think this is a bit of education, a bit of a push to get people used to this. Yeah.
Now, Tim, just a final question. There will also be an amendment to the Environmental Public Health Act, which was announced in Parliament on Wednesday. Tell us about that.
So under this act, and this will, support the efforts of the SG Clean movement and the task force. Under this act, there will be stricter cleaning regimes put in place for various organizations. And they have to adhere to these rather than following their own plans. And aside from that, owners and managers of premises will now be held more accountable for the standards of cleanliness at their premises. So it's sort of like concretizing what the task force is hoping to achieve, which is a cleaner Singapore.
I see.